welcome to the first of hopefully many of my art streams. My name is Mystery Steve. Welcome to the studio. But yeah, so that gargoyle and cooking that you see right there, that is going to be the first thing I try and draw. Why not start now? What I'm going to start doing is, with that gargoyle and cooking that you see up there, is I'm going to start with a little silhouette. Okay, I actually want to fade that a little bit. A silhouette of a gargoyle. So this is going to be the head. And I'm doing this in Clip Studio Paint currently. And let's see. So the torso is going to be around here. Alright. And like I'm going to put a beefy arm around here. And here. So I'm going to do a second draft layer here just to... What I'm going to do is I'm going to add an extra silhouette. I'm not going to do anything too fancy for now. So this cauldron is going to be in front of the gargoyle. He's going to be a grumpy guy. And so it looks like he's coming out of it for now, but you'll see in a moment. His hands go in like that. It's not going to look like much, not yet. There we go. I want to make sure... here we go. My brush assistance is on now. Don't need it, but it's a nice thing to have. Alright. So, he's got some horns. And maybe he's got like a little mohawk as well. Let's see. And... yeah, he'll have like a little mohawk up here. Yeah, I like to work in silhouettes at first, just because the time it takes to do something like this with the head, it's a fine way to do it, and if you do it that way, that's great. It's just like starting with that for some reason just like rejects the shape out of my head right out the get-go. And so yeah, I start with just like a flat silhouette, and then we add things from there. Now I'm going to go back to trying to create another draft layer, so that we can change the color to something a little darker. And the reason for that is now we're going to get into some outlines. So now that we see basically what we'd see if we were squinting at this guy, now I'm going to actually outline the jaw shape more specifically. And this is where you can decide, like, if there's anything that you missed, like for instance, you can interpret these ears as either ears or horns. I don't even know whether I said that they were ears or horns before, but you can interpret them in different ways once you have the silhouette and the general shape. So, and you can do that if you want them to be ears, maybe a little hair coming out of them. Now, I do want those to be horns, and I want to change the shape a little bit. I'm going to bring out my eraser, and there we go, bring it back to my pencil tool. I'm using some hotkeys here, don't mind me. But any key you can see over here, if you want to ask any questions in chat, feel free. And that's about it. So this mohawk is definitely going to be hair. I don't want it to have 3 horns. I don't think that is necessary. I think that makes him look a little too spooky. And frankly, now I know this looks to be off center, but we can actually work with that and think that, like, you know, this is not the natural way that the gargoyle's hair grows. This is... I think I'm thinking more of a goblin than a gargoyle, but we're gonna go with it. So, you know, let's say the implication is that like he would grow hair like this, but he decided to do something nice with his hair, and it looks like that. But it was just a little bit off center. Maybe he's grumpy about that. Maybe that's what's distracting him from nice cooking. So I'm gonna put it on eraser mode to take care of that bit. And here we go. And let's see. So now, a basic structure of doing some artwork like this would involve, you know, doing that center face line and doing this. And I do still involve that at this stage. I like to do, with any of my characters, vertical eye slits. And so I'm going to do that, but not as tall as I want to do them, because I want to make room for nice, big, bushy eyebrows. Yeah. This is all still structure work. It doesn't need to be cleaned up or polished. It's just... if it looks scrappy and scratchy, heck, we can even put out the scrappy, scratchy bits. Alright, and... I mean, does he even need to be angry? I was thinking at first that he'd be angry, but the only thing is, because the original prompt, it was a little more complicated than I want to start this off with, because I want to wait until there's some requests in chat, and we'll add stuff around all this blank space. But like the original said overwhelmed and in a lab, and maybe we'll get to that later, but honestly, doesn't even need to be upset. Maybe keep the big angry bushy eyebrows, but sorry, making sure I got a good feed on my audio here. Okay. He's still got the big bushy eyebrows, and maybe they're even posed like that just because he's a cheeky fella, but he's excited about what he's making. He's got a big old toothy grin. And I want to figure out how to express joy in this if I can. I want to see if I can like okay, with how cute this looks, I was going to say I want to put in a nose just after this. I don't know. I don't know if I even want a nose at this point because it just looks so adorable. No, but I'm going to try a nose. I'm going to try some kind of nose. Like just some kind of button nose. Anything like that works. You know, just there we go. Yeah, just something like that. I don't. No, I'm going back on the nose. It feels right. Just having a little, just having nothing there, and just like a little, like two nostrils like this. It works really well to me for this gargoyle goblin. All right, so now there is so much undecided stuff going on below the neck here. This is where we're gonna have some extra fun. This is part of why I wanted what I'm gonna. Okay, this is part of why I wanted to do the cauldron as a separate draft layer, just so I could color it differently. So what I'm going to do is I'm gonna think for a second. Okay, so this silhouette does not determine the shape of the cauldron. It determines the shape of the gargoyle, because it actually does feel like it fits with whatever form the gargoyle would have, but I will trim off these parts. So this will be the general shape of, you'll catch my drift if you think about like, if you think about, here we go. And there we go, okay. So if you think about one arm going like this and one arm going like this, as they're like putting stuff in the, putting stuff down into whatever mixture they're making, cooking something. We'll decide what they're cooking once we actually get to drawing that part. Yeah, okay, so the hands are poised for that perfectly. So another draft layer of another color. I lose track of my UI sometimes. Just give me one moment. We'll give it like a purple color. Why not? Okay. Nice gentle purple. Okay. So this is where we're going to start the silhouette of the cauldron in front of him. And actually, I want that color to be a little bit darker, just to be less overbearing on the eyes. Yeah. Yeah, close enough. Okay. So now I'm thinking, okay, so thinking broad silhouettes. So the big old cauldron is in front of him like that. Yeah, big fat cauldron, like some handles probably. Just think of the vague shape. And it'll like have some damage on there too from something, just because it's weathered and used. I'm thinking it's like from it's a communal cauldron, something to that effect. And we'll add a draft layer for some details on top of that. And that will be a purple that is darker, much darker. But we'll get to you in a moment. Okay, so I don't want us to get confused on any of this. So, okay, I almost lost track of what layer the actual darker blue stuff here was. So I am, just for those referencing this, I am coloring with the same color on each of these layers. I'm just changing the layer color, so you'll actually see. Do I have a layer properties thing open here? I don't know if I do. Here it is. Okay, so you'll see under layer properties a bunch of what I'm doing, but I much prefer you to see my brushes. Yeah. Okay. But yeah, in those layer properties, I'm changing the color of the layer. But now I'm curious if it puts it through a tint. I'm not going to test this right now, but I do wonder if it makes different tints, as if, like, for instance, if you're putting it through a grayscale filter for black and white, if it gives tints of different kinds for different colors you put on. Because I'm just putting black on this, and it's filtering it through each of these colors. But yeah, it's whatever you make it. So this is the difficulty of him doing a gesture right in front of himself and the view of the viewer's head on. Because if the arm was going out like this, then that'd be a lot easier to do with silhouette. So we're gonna have a little challenge here. So I'm thinking like a crease for one of his arms is there. We might have to move that later. But I'm seeing a bulging bicep here. But I don't want his arms feeding right into the cauldron. So we'll put some perspective here. That's what we'll do. So the cauldron is a bit far out in front of him, and we'll establish that. But first, to even do that, we'll need to do a bit more of traditional shaping here. I'm thinking maybe like his knuckles go there, and thinking fingers there. So this will be his pinky, ring, and middle fingers, and his index finger is doing all this biz, and it's gonna be kind of fiddling with a beaker that's in his hand, and he's kind of fumbling around with it. This guy doesn't deal with this kind of stuff a whole bunch. So yeah, there's the beaker, and it's gonna be like flowing some stuff into the cauldron, and of course, again, we don't have to make it exact. We don't have to set up everything exactly how we want to see it right now. We just got to make it make sense for a start. Like, for instance, the barrier between fingers there, I'm just making a little squiggle to represent it. Now, I might just entirely go outside of the silhouette for a bit to, like, actually give him some literal elbow room. Just, yeah. Here we go. So, some literal elbow room, so that he can like put his arms out as he's like preparing kind of nervously, because I don't want to make him explicitly angry, but like he's having fun, but he's also like in unfamiliar territory. His arm is going out, that's for sure. What direction though? Where is he sticking his elbow out? Let's say it's like that far, and this is feeling much better. It's not exact, but it's a suggestion of what we want. And that arm, because what I want to do with that arm, the left one from his perspective, right one from our perspective, I want to have that one kind of holding on to the edge of the cauldron with like a meaty paw. That finger is going to be in front of the rim of the cauldron and the actual piece, but so he's gonna be holding onto it like that with like an awkward meaty grip, and his hand is also holding on to something, just an ingredient of something. Won't decide until later, don't need to, and for that reason his arm is gonna be down here. That looks roughly all right. Okay, yeah, this looks like we're on a good track. It's a confusing perspective, but we'll certainly get there. And it just feels right to put the crease of the armpit there. You can always adjust later. And you know what? This guy, he's got, like, sure, he's got a beefy neck, but he's also got a lovely little turtleneck. I wanna give him some kind of classy appearance. Yeah, it doesn't mean he's gotta be a savage just because he's a gargoyle. He might be angry, he might have a temper, he might gnash his teeth a whole bunch. This is still a buddy of anybody's. nice little squiggle so that we'll be putting the threads there later. And what do I want to put on here? Maybe like a little symbol here. I don't know what kind of symbol, but just some squiggle of something on his shirt. Hey, maybe it's Christmas. Maybe it's Halloween. Halloween's coming up soon. Maybe I'll make that a pumpkin. I'll come back here to his face just because I forgot earlier to give him some teeth definition. We'll head in for that. And a little bit of these. There you go. Okay, so he's got plenty of personality now. All right, and I said that these were horns. Right. I forgot. We're coming back up here to firstly define them as horns. I don't want them to impede on the eyebrows too much, though. I don't want to crowd the face. Also, we can always adjust later. And I want to make some room for the ears here, because that's a great position for the ears, but I really want that to be horns. So there we go. That's an ear, at least a placeholder for an ear. And we'll do the same on this side. I'm gonna move some other software of mine out of the way. There we go. Okay. And a similar ear here. Just gotta eyeball it. But you could feel it. You could see it. Here we go. There's a lobe. We got it. Okay. And you know what? Maybe there's a lot of white space up here, and I want to see if, like, let's say he's got some kind of headdress. Maybe he's getting into some fun stuff. You know, I'm thinking that he is trying on some fun stuff from his niece. So I'm going to say his niece gave him a beautiful tiara from a princess play kit. Because thinking of Christmas made me think of that sort of thing. Or it could be a witchy thing. Oh no, okay, because that looks a little too much like armor to me. We'll go back on that. I'm gonna say, there's a lot of directions to go here. Maybe we'll come back to the top of the head, but we'll put a little note here. Put stuff here, and arrow there, and arrow there. Okay, put stuff there. And we're kind of making blueprints here, aren't we? Okay, so I'm going to actually come back to this because that's the first thing I immediately think of. We're going to erase that shape. We're going to put in a nice little pumpkin. So it's a modest little pumpkin attire. We might put in more of these. Might not even have one in this position in the final piece, but it's just to represent that he is wearing a Halloween sweater. He wants to be festive with his buddies. Maybe he's in an unfamiliar environment with a cauldron. 'Tis the season. He's getting into stuff he's not used to. Maybe it's a cute little... There we go. Maybe it's a cute little jack-o'-lantern. And the jack-o'-lantern will have like this smile going on. There we go, setting up some context for this guy. Now, with the context of the sweater and the smiling jack-o'-lantern on it, it actually kind of looks like he's happy instead of raging. I'm thinking of piercings, but I don't much like piercings. What do I want to put here? I want to put some kind of makeup or something. Maybe a little blush. Maybe a little blush. And we'll say, you know what? He does like a little bit of goth makeup. Some goth makeup. There we go. So he does want to stay in his scary roots. But, you know, he doesn't want to have to stay there for absolutely everything. And maybe he has some, like, fake blood around the mouth. You know, he's got some candy blood from like a costume party on Halloween. All right. And up here, I'm going to say, okay, I just thought of something fun. So, he's got like a little sticker with a princess on it up here. I'm going to stick with the niece narrative. Add a narrative to any art piece you can. So, doesn't look very good yet. It will later. Yeah, his niece put a princess sticker on his head, and he loves it so much. You see, it was from a time that that he ducked his head for her to headbutt her little head at him, and then she slapped a sticker up there. Now, I just realized he looks bruised and beaten, so I'm going to take a little bit of this off. We're going to save the blush for later when it doesn't look so... when it doesn't make it look so gruesome. We'll figure out the makeup as a whole at another time. Maybe when we're closer to the end of the piece. But... I think the fake blood out of the mouth can stay, though. I don't think that that's doing anything bad for us. Hi, good to see you. Sarah, hi. Don't know how long you've been there. If you have any requests... Sarah says, he could be also slightly happy for Halloween. Anyways, or he was forced to enjoy for Halloween by his niece. Absolutely. I don't even think he was forced. I think this gentleman... is happily, by the way, let me know if my audio levels are okay, Sarah, if you don't mind. Old friend of mine. But I don't even think that he's reluctant at this Halloween celebration. I think he's kind of just way in over his head and doesn't understand, what's, doesn't understand how to do it, but he's trying to get into it. Maybe this potion is part of his niece's costume. I don't really know what that means. But, maybe it's some glitter. He's putting together some special magical kind of glitter. We'll go with that. I think that's all fine. I'm going to add some more shape to this because it's kind of just starting to look like a mass around this hulking figure that doesn't mean anything until we add some more definition to it. So let's add the actual shape of the cauldron. Like was basically already there, but we're defining it. And Sarah, feel free to add in any requests you want. This box in the top right, it's in the lower right for me. But that box is there for any reference images. Anything you request, I'll put the reference image right in there. And I'll add some version of whatever you request in here. So in this particular portion, I realized that this end of the cauldron is a little bit lower than this end, but what that could just mean is that he's crinkling the metal a little bit with his meaty grip. He's a big, strong guy, so he's having an effect on it. He's handling it, though. He's not toppling over the thing. It's gonna be fine. Here are the handles. Here. There we go. There we go. And yeah. If you got any questions or if you got any requests, that is what chat is for. Or for just chatting, talking about your day, that's welcome too. I don't know why I put this little piece of schmutz here, but we'll figure that out, I guess, at some other time. Yeah, what else do I need for the shape here? Maybe, like, the indication of the liquid. Yeah, and a little bit of bubbles. Some bubbles here. Alright, I might add another draft layer just for, like, the items? I don't know. In the cauldron, can you put a small orange pumpkin in the corner, inside the cauldron? Oh, well, thank you for saying small. That makes it a lot easier. Okay. So I'm going to create another draft layer for that. That should do just fine. And yeah, small orange pumpkin. So it will be orange, but for now it's just gonna. Well, actually, you know what? We can make the. I'm gonna change the layer color over there to orange, just so that we have a picture of it as it will be later on already. So it's just floating in there, all dilly-dally and chilling out. It's like a bath bomb. Maybe there's little pixies. If there's a goblin here or a gargoyle that's enjoying this cauldron and using it for his own means, maybe at some other time there's a pixie that goes on a little relaxing hot tub time in here. Maybe he cuddles up to the pumpkin. Maybe has a snack, you know. Maybe it's a Bluetooth speaker and they put on their favorite playlist. I don't know. You know, it's up to you and whatever lore in your mind. Do you want there to be a jack-o'-lantern face on the pumpkin? Feel free to request that if you like. Is that a yes to the jack-o'-lantern face, or do you want any other kind of expression on the pumpkin? Also, I'm doing just fine, Sarah. Thank you. You know, I recently had a lot of tech issues just before this, but my computer's had a big refresh recently, and so I thought I'd make use of it here. I've been going through some, you know, lovely time with family. I turned 26 recently, just on Sunday, and I really appreciate the birthday wishes you gave at the time, and yeah, that's about it. So I almost as a little birthday present for me here. For myself. I'm started to do some streams as I've been thinking about for a good long while. Like Jack Skellington, the pumpkin face should be. You know what? I am a big fan of that idea. Let me make sure that I'm getting Jack Skellington's face correct. I'm going to pick up a reference image of Jack Skellington. Give me one moment. Okay. Now I want one that is official and nicely lit and everything. This should do just fine. Yeah, let's go with that. I think that's primed and ready. That's the wrong button. Can we? There we go. Okay. Thank you very much, Sarah. I appreciate the happy late birthday as well. Though you did say happy birthday on the day, so I mean, it's barely even late. Here we go. So we'll make the size of that smaller. If you're curious what my reference image software is, this is PureRef, by the way, that I have over here. Stays always on top. I'm not paid to say that. I just like the software. And the software, of course, is Clip Studio Paint. Crit is also a beautiful one. So I'm gonna improve the water around there just to make sure the water ripples. So I'm going to first establish the creases of the pumpkin, and then so the smile is of Jack Skellington. So the eyes are super big. There's super huge eyes. Going like that. It's gonna like go into the top of the pumpkin because the eyes are so massive. And there's gonna be like I want to make sure that the mouth is low enough to be somewhat faithful up there. But I want to make sure that also I want to make sure that the mouth actually appears though as well. Maybe I'll just move it to be a little bit more buoyant. Maybe it's a really thick liquid inside this cauldron. Yeah, let me play with that idea. So maybe the pumpkin is actually floating way up here because it's just such a thick liquid. And so that'll make much more room for Jack over here. And his beautiful smile. Here we go. Okay. And I'm not a fan of that shape as much. Here we go. That's much better. Wasn't intended to be seen more at the time. And of course, we don't necessarily want a scar here. That's what that water level looks like. But now we have the water level down here where it's more appropriate for our positioning. Okay. And the crease is back. And those are the eyes, making them a little bigger now that I have more room. And how are you doing, Sarah? Here we go. Now much more room for the face. Feel free to draw along if you like interpret any prompt here yourself. You'll see that I'm like going over the mouth a lot of different times just because I want to make sure I get the mouth shape right for my taste. That might be a good one, but I might want to have a little bit more scoop up of the mouth because part of what makes the one with the actual Jack Skellington so charming, I think, is that it basically emphasizes the shape of his whole head. I want to keep that quality. And there's just a little bit, just a little bit of dip down that the lower jaw does. Just not too much. Just because it's such a big mouth. There we go. Okay, this is perfect. just going to do some random lines as well. Little ticks here for the stitches on the mouth. There we go. There we go. Perfect. Oh my god, this is gorgeous. Okay. I'm a big fan of this. And the little... I guess you'd call them eye bags, even though he's made of all bones. This is... Oh, this is so cute. I love this. Okay, I'm super into that. Okay, and I'm going to actually slightly alter the shape here of the jack-o'-lantern. There we go. And I'm going to make it so that comes in a little bit more, emphasizes the shape of essentially the jaw, the bottom of the pumpkin. It was going to become a jaw anyway if it was a jack-o'-lantern, but no, that part of the shape works too well, so I might just adjust the other side and match it. That's perfect. That's perfect. I love how with construction pencils like this in any kind of art software, like when it's done well, you could do it like just huge brush strokes like this to fill big areas, like a silhouette like that, or you could do as teeny tiny as you really want, and like you can make things like start thin and go thick, and like it's perfect as a concept. All right, so. And if you're curious as to what specific construction pencil I'm using, this is from, I think, Josiah Brooks' brush set that I got maybe a couple years ago. I really hope, Draw with Jazza. I really hope that he still has that brush set. Why does it look like one of Sally's dolls, but cuter? Oh, Sally's dolls. I gotta think about that one. Hold on. I'm gonna pull up a picture of Sally's dolls. I hope just typing that in will work. Okay, yeah, I didn't quite remember. I didn't quite remember what that was from. I just knew that I knew it. Sally's dolls. I'm gonna say Nightmare Before Christmas. No, not a doll of Sally. You know what? I'll figure it out. If you want to send via Discord, like a reference image for that, maybe if you want me to add some dolls in here, you know, or off to the side, maybe you know, maybe one on his shoulder, you know, sewn onto there, or perhaps there's like a sticker of one, just like how there's a sticker of a princess on his forehead, but on the cauldron here. Yeah. Okay. What part next? What do we want to add more definition to? I'm thinking this arm could use some improvement before going much. What am I doing? There we go. Okay. So, yeah. So this arm, we want to keep in mind the shape of the bicep here. No, that gave me an idea. I was just doing that to indicate the shape of the arm, but that actually makes a perfect opportunity to make like, because he's already wearing a sweater. We had to put a sleeve line somewhere. Oh, this is perfect. This is really coming together. Okay. So I heard a really weird noise. Okay. Anyway, here we go. So there is some cuffs for a sweater. Like this, like it feels to me like the sweater was like barely. Like the sweater barely fits him. The niece tried to get him, like, trying to get a sweater big enough for him and couldn't find one because they're all for humans, presumably. Maybe the niece will make an appearance in this drawing. I have no idea. Here's a little muscle stretch line for the big hulking gargoyle. I keep forgetting it's a gargoyle and not a goblin. I gotta keep checking that reference image. Well, the reference text. Here we go. And those are the stretch marks for that part. Now it's a game of knowing where to move on to before putting in detail. So I'm going to erase the silhouette here just to make way for the thingies, so that they can really breathe. There we go. I'm just going between the layers, switching them. Excuse me. And erasing as necessary. Perfection. All right. Okay, we can always come back around it, because it does feel like something's missing, but we can always come back around if necessary. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put all of these layers in a group, and then I'm going to go in for more definition. Here we go. There we go. Actually, I'm going to take out that. Here we go. Draft layer. One more draft layer. But the layer folder here, we'll dim that down. And now, at this draft layer, we can go in and pick a finer pencil. Let's go with this one. No, I'm going to go with the realistic pencil. If I can still find my realistic pencil. There it is. Okay. You're going to love how this one looks. I am still at the eraser mode, the transparency mode. Oh! Oh, yeah, I guess I am still on draft layer mode. Okay. No, I want this to be black, so I'm gonna take it out of draft layer. I'm gonna delete that draft layer when we get back around to it. Spiderwebs in the corner could work. Oh, perfect, and we already have a draft layer for it. Okay. Let's see. I'm gonna say that I'm gonna give this one some thinking. So I'm gonna go back to the construction pencil. I'm going to, in the corner could work. I'm going to say that it's like descending here, like some cobwebs. This is around like a dusty, musty place that isn't taken care of very well. And the center of the spider web is right here. But of course, that's not made of a hole usually, is it? Sometimes. We'll give it a hole because I think that works best. And it's gonna be like sprouting out like that, and little wispies. Sent me a pic to help. Thank you, Sarah. Oh, thank you. Okay, perfect. I'm gonna copy the image into PureRef here. There we go. Oh, it's covering everything, so let me just... There we go. There we go. Oh, not too twisty. Just take this down, put it next to everything else. All right. There we go. So that is the general... I'm thinking, yeah, so it's going to have a hole in the middle, structurally speaking, and then there's gonna be all those little wispy pieces going where it is made out of its structure. I'm thinking of certain spider webs that you'd find in like the Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies. Like that to me is one of the most satisfying kinds of spider webs. Yeah, there we go. That's looking like a good one. And I'm gonna say there's a little piece coming down. I don't know if it'd be coming down from there specifically, but it felt right for the scene. So there it's going to be getting all thick and blobby around the center. And this spider, I was going to say it wants to... Oh, we're professionals. Yes, Sarah, we are. I was going to say that the spider like wants to get on the cauldron business, but it looks better to be descending from here. So, oh, I just realized something. That where's my lasso? There it is. Okay. This is rotated in a way that it should not be. I'm gonna try and like where's my skew? There it is. Okay. I just wanna... No, that's not what I meant. Can I please? Okay, okay. So you're not gonna play nice. So I'm just gonna... Oh, there we go. Okay. And I'll fix that in a sec. Here it goes. Oh, There we go, much better. So this spider is not actually trying to get specifically at the cauldron. This spider is doing the only mode of transportation it knows, but it's trying to get some, like... I thought of Spider-Man, so this is immediately what came up in my mind. Trying to get a photo in a clunky way, but it does manage to aim the camera at... how is it gonna... Actually, no, that works. Okay. So it's aiming the camera at the gargoyle for a quick scoop, because the gargoyle wants to use the cauldron. The gargoyle isn't supposed to use the cauldron. The gargoyle is a monster, but he's breaking the rules, and it's a good thing, but only we know that it's a good thing. And so the camera is being finicked with a little bit. There's the flash. And we'll say this is like resembling an old-timey camera, but not too specifically, because it's got this, like, the sulfur bulb here. Okay. I don't remember what was inside those sulfur bulbs. Well, sulfur, but but like what it looked like. Oh, I want the pics, guy. Gosh darn it, J. Jonah Jameson. Yeah, thank you, Sarah. So yeah, they're fiddling around with the camera. They are not used to this environment. They're trying to they're trying to make sure that they got the shot, and it's not really working. So this spider is we don't even know if they're a friend or foe. You can come up with that yourself if you like. But this is the spider web with a spider. And now I'm going to lower the opacity of that, and we're going to head back to our pencil layer, which that technically already was a pencil layer, but we're not going to get persnickety here now, are we? That's my job. All right. Is that what persnickety means? I'm not sure on that one. But so now this is still not the final stage. This is just a little bit more specific and sharp with detail. There's a lot of details I leave out in the previous stage that I'm not going to in the pencil stage. So basically every single thing I want to add in here until I get into the final inking, every single little detail is going to be penciled in before we get to the inking. So where the horn meets the skull, and the eyebrows and everything. You could say this is the most peaceful part. Would I agree with you? I'm not sure, but you could say that. Because now we've already determined the shape of so many things. And it's almost like a coloring book, but you're doing the outline. And it's kind of in a beautiful midpoint where you do have a guide, but you don't got to make it look like perfect yet. You know, you can make it look itchy and scratchy, and that's totally expectable because it's still the pencil phase. I'm making the eyebrows bushier right now because the lines were too straight in my opinion. There we go. So bushier eyebrow, much bushier eyebrow. This is going so well. Thank you, Sarah, for helping me out. And anybody else that Watts is in. I'm probably going to put this on YouTube later just to experiment as well. So, I'm going to do about the same thing with this eyebrow, not be too strict. There, oh god, some fuzzies here that I might want to put on the other one. Let different pieces of the art piece inspire each other. This is perfection. I'm loving this. Okay. And the eyes are going to be a lot easier. I think the eyes already took on a pretty good shape. It's not super common that I already like exactly how the eyes look in this phase, but I do. I do in this case. I like the size and shape. Now, about the cheek part under it, I might want to add a little bit more definition, like stuff that implies some bags under the eyes, but they have to be scrunched up because his face is a super emoted kind of way. Nostrils, get those out of the way. Just let instinct take you where it will. Don't think too much about any specific part. Just let it flow out of your hand. Little loop up here to form a natural shape of the ear. I'm into that. There we go. Don't need to be super symmetrical, just whatever ideas feel right. Rotate is necessary, of course, for comfort. Don't need to, but it feels nice. Makes the whole experience a little breezier. Gosh, look at this. Now, here's where we're finding out a part where I actually did get it wrong. So I'm going to, when I feel like it, which might take a while, well, when I feel like it, I am going to move this eye a little bit in this direction. Because, as you can see, it's not quite symmetrical with the center of the face. It's close enough for it to not drive us crazy right now, or at least not me. But, no, I'm going to take care of that now. I'm going to go right back on what I said. So, here we go. And it's hard with the handles in the way to make sense of it, but I'm going to use its orientation in comparison to the eyebrows to make sure that this is a place to be happy with. I'm not sure. I might actually have to move the eyebrow as well. So I'm going to, what I should have done in the first place, I'm going to orient it specifically in relation to the middle face line. And now is when I'm finding out that it might not have actually been the... There we go. It might not have actually been the eye that I had a problem with. It might have been the eyebrow. Because the eyebrow is definitely determining a lot of how we see the eye. And I think that was wrong. There we go. That's matching much more of the... What? That's matching more of the face structure here. Just feeling out the shapes. That should be good. That should be... I'm gonna go with that. I'm happy with that. I'm pretty okay with it, at least for now. Moving on to the horn. Doing it similar to the other one. Letting them inspire each other. Thicker lines. Here. Just doing whatever makes you happy when it comes to this. No right or wrong answers. Here we go. And of course, for such a creature who's used to being really ragged and out and about, tussling and rustling, you want to add some lines to those horns. I want to figure out how to make it look naturally scratchy without looking weird. I'm gonna say these are still placeholder lines because I want to keep them, but they shouldn't look like that. That doesn't look natural to me. So I'm just gonna have them there for now. Mohawk is going to be probably one of the easier portions. The only thing that's going to be irregular in any of the shape here is going to be maybe some wisps along the way. Might add those. Here we go. Bring in the eraser. Yeah. It's hard to get a good... to get good internal shapes. And by internal, I mean like within the lines here. On stuff like hair and grooves and stuff, until you actually get to like broader, softer, more defined lines, like the final inking that we're gonna do. You'll see. I'll actually show you the brush that I'm talking about that I want to use for inking it. So this is what the brush is gonna look like as we're doing the final inking portions. I'll show you a little example here of what the jaw will look like. Not as cleaned up, but you'll see the general structure of the line. That's what it's going to look like. And it's a lot easier to do like vague lines like that, especially if you lower the opacity with the inking brush. Sarah says, every artist I like, every artist is like JJJ. We want it great, but it doesn't also work. We are more becoming Peter Parker. Anyways, yeah. We are always our own harshest critic. That is inevitable. But that is the time to recognize it. Take a look at yourself. and accept what you got as it is. Find whatever little step-by-step opportunities you got to make things look and feel better. But ultimately, accept it for something that you have made. Also, I am supremely satisfied by the way that it looks where the hair actually meets the scalp there, to the point where I actually might add hair wisps up here. Yeah. I think that makes a lot of sense for the character. He's doing a new thing styling himself like this. And inner ear bits. Maybe a little hair. Not too much. Just a little bit. He's got a trim. Pardon, excuse. Okay. And going on to the mouth. This is the comfy bit. This is where you get to be messy, have a guide, and just do what feels right without the consequences of the final version of the piece. Nothing has to look pretty or perfect here until it just does. That's beautiful. You just draw and erase along the way. Here we go. Just one big long curved line. The little part where the bottom meets the side here, of course. You want to have a little bit of stretch there, but also defined corner. I could have done a defined corner like that. I think it would have been closer to an anime style. But I want to be more... Oh, wow. That's not going to work. So this is where we see a huge amount of asymmetricality. I vastly prefer this side over this one, so we're going to recreate the left side on the right. Sarah says, stop drinking sodas that make you burp. So anyways, I'm joking. Well, thankfully, I am drinking just a heaping spoonful of dihydrogen monoxide. This is water. I burp anyway, because I'm bad at drinking water. Yeah. My throat is a little sore. We're fine. Okay. And there we go. Oh, yeah. So finding where it actually meets the difference point here. I'm probably going to do some fixing of the lower jaw as well. Just unclear as to how that's going to work. But we do not need to know that yet. I'm just feeling it out for as much symmetricality as I can get. I might actually carve more out of the curve here than I intended to. I think like the whole arch up here is different. Yeah. And that more needs to be matched. Could I bring out a mirror? Probably. Do I feel like it? No. I might just... So what I did here is I'm going to thicken the line and carve out of it. Because that felt like an easier, more practical way to get to what I wanted to do. Okay, now I'm starting to wonder if I actually don't like how it looks, or if it's the inside structure, the construction pieces here that are throwing me off. No, I think it's that I actually want more of a corner over here. Right at the top of where I just erased. That's closer. It might also be that this is pointed too much this way. The centerpiece there. Yeah, it's not centered on the center face line. It's not. So now's the time to adjust that. And how are we going to? What we're going to do is lasso around this bit. I'm glad you can see the lasso. That helps a lot. And I'm going to see if a skew does it. I'm going to rotate. This is a new feature in Clip Studio Paint. I'm going to rotate the selection area so that my skew... There we go, can do... Nope. That's not what I meant. This. There we go. Skewing that little, I guess, what would you call it? Skewing the apex of the lip curve. We'll go with that wording. Skewing that. Does that? Still need to refine this bit, though. This is the frustrating part, but oh so worth it. And yes, I definitely did need to adjust the bottom here to make it more consistent. it needs to be a bit of a straighter line. Up to here around? A little lower. A little lower. Down to there. Yeah. And we're going to adjust just slightly lower. Because now I'm seeing where it meets the bottom jaw, and that should remain relatively consistent across the whole thing. Otherwise, it kind of doesn't work. Here we go. So then, and also curving out the bottom right over here to match the fleshiness, stretching out. Connecting up here just because it's got Dwight McQuaid. Alright. Oh, okay, now I know it's just the blueprint work underneath that's actually messing with me. I am going to take this opportunity to save. I have been procrastinating saving because I wanted to make sure that you could constantly see what I'm doing. Yeah, anyway. I'm going to save this as... Yeah, as Twitch 1. There we go. So this is a Twitch art piece, the first one. Alright. Now going into the teeth. So the first place I see they can use it. Might add some gums in. Why not? So it'll add a bit more life if we add some gums, maybe a tear in the gums. Because, you know, he grew up around a lot of ferociousness. Where his brothers would beat each other up and tussle and wrestle. And that was the recreational pastime. And the gums are going to protrude a little bit out from where the teeth are. As yours do. And now it looks like we might have a baseline. Might want to straighten that out later, but it generally works. I don't want the gums to stick out that much. No, that's a little overkill. Same over here. Pardon. Okay. Yeah, this makes more sense. Even though it doesn't feel right closer up, this makes more sense in the wider picture. Yeah. Oh, God. That actually... I'm not sure about that, but I'm going to reserve judgment until I replicate it below as well. Because that really doesn't... Like, that feels like I want it, but it doesn't feel right. I might have to erase it again. I want that to feel right. I want it to. I want it to work. Oh, it's so creepy. I gotta abandon this. Not the drawing, just that part. Wait, maybe I can salvage it with some fangs on the inside, or whatever you call them, canines. Yeah, I think the gums just look threatening. I might add them back in later, but they just don't work. They don't work. Yeah. It was a nice try. I'm glad we tried it. I don't know of a better way to do it for now, though. Okay. How long have we been going? Oh, about an hour. Okay. We got time. So I'm just increasing the brush size to go over more, zooming out, twisty turny. Sorry if I make anybody motion sick. There we go. Okay. So the teeth are going to stay simple for now. They're just going to go right up to the roof of the mouth. Might actually... maybe I can add something subtler here. Yeah. Okay. I think we've solved this. So it's not going to bulge out, and there's just going to be little signs of it up there. Yeah, this really makes a lot more sense. Because the teeth feel too tall to not have the gums. We gotta have something of them. Yeah, this makes a lot more sense, especially if like we actually properly add in, you know, the part where the teeth actually meet. And gotta add in as well sharper parts. I guess he's just got quite a bit of an underbite, unless I add some massive ones up there and replace these with those. But we don't got to think about that for now. Yeah. Oh no, that's not. That's not symmetrical at all. Oh, that needs to be fixed. Okay. I keep forgetting the center face line. It's really bad form, but that's okay. Here we go. Much better. Everyone can stay calm. And alter that a little bit. Still have it a little squiggly to imply more teeth. And we can come back to that later. Oh, this is looking gorgeous. I'm really liking this. Okay. And make the pencil much bigger. Oh, also this pencil brush is I think downloadable from the Clip Studio website. I think it's free. If you would like to use it, it's just called Realistic Pencil, I think. Yeah. So I keep going along the lines here and then making sure that there's enough curve to follow natural muscular structure. And thickening them enough to represent an outer line of the creature rather than the inner smaller lines. Because generally for your characters and objects and environments, you want broader, thicker lines around the outside rim from like your perspective looking at them, and thinner ones for stuff inside. And there's kind of a bit of give and take as to, like, for instance, bigger parts you'd expect to have thicker lines might actually have thinner lines when they're out in front of them like this. It depends on the artist and the situation at that point. But for now, we're going to deal with this. All right. Oh, this is gonna be a deep shadowy bit because it's his armpit. So we're gonna broaden out from this crack. Yeah, I'm liking that. And oh, I just thought of another thing to put in here. He's got a little charm bracelet, a little friendship bracelet from his niece. It's gonna go around his wrist. I don't know if it's gonna look like pearls in the end. I'm just kind of putting that there as a placeholder. These circles. But I want it to be established. There we go. And then just following hand form, whatever naturally feels right. Sometimes when I do art, especially if I'm also talking, I forget to breathe. Where did my view go? I don't know what key I pressed for that. Huh. Okay, that finger is wildly sticking out. And yeah, it's funny that I am drawing this big old beast because I was just recently, before eventually watching the series version of this, I was reading Percy Jackson. I never read it when I was a kid, and I've already finished the first book. I was reading Percy Jackson, The Sea of Monsters, and every big thing that I do about this creature kind of reminds me of Percy's friend, the Cyclops, in that book, which I will not spoil anything about. Though a lot is said about the Cyclops very early. Here we go. And I'm starting to think that I put the knuckle a little too close to the hand there. Do I want to fix that? I don't know. I might have to fix it. Now I'm starting to sound like the Gargoyle. Okay. And then that knuckle crease down below. I'm going to adjust that as well, don't you worry. This is just something I did wrong in the first place. and you want to have a little bit of toughness toward the bone when you are doing skin between joints, if it's fingers especially. Here we go, and little wrinkles under there. Okay, and little wrinkly forms of all that. Yeah, okay, and then we got a fingernail going here probably. I don't even think I'd be doing a fingernail if it wasn't this kind of beast, because I don't tend to do those. I think it looks better not to. Okay, actually, I don't want to differentiate this beast too much. I'm going to stop calling him a beast. We're going to give him a name. We're going to call him Sarah. You know what? I'm going to say, Sarah, if you're still in the chat, you can come up with a name if you like. We're going to call him Mr. Gargoyle until we get another name. But yeah, the fingernail, I'm going to say there's going to be a basic form of one, but not much. Doesn't really need one. Yeah, and then we do the joint part, and then just follow it to the rest of the finger. And whatever reason that the scribble of the form of up here made sense, you just want to kind of justify those decisions now in the form and kind of work everything around it. So I did that scribble in that shape because in my head, just I imagined the hand, kind of the shape of the tops of the fingers coming together in that way. And it just kind of flowed out of me, just out of the habit of scribbling these things up. And so now I'm kind of trying to translate what my intent was at the time, which may or may not be directly accurate to what I was thinking originally. And just trying to justify it with the form. Might have to change stuff. It's trying to look like... Actually, that's pretty close to a good hand form. I'm trying to figure out what's this way and that. I wonder, does OBS actually tell you the viewer count? I don't know, but I'll figure that out later. Yeah, okay. Alright, so I am going to lasso select this portion and do another skew, though I don't know if that's actually what we're looking for, but I'm going to change the orientation to be, let's say, there. Because the skew that I'm looking for is like it's gonna take the tops of the fingers away from there, and then what I want to do is free transform. Oh, change the perspective again, and then shorten it because I don't want to erase if I don't have to. Let's say free transform. That might work. Yeah, there it is. Oh, of course, I could have done just free transform the whole time. All right. Well, now we know. Yeah, that's a good knuckle placement. Won't need that much adjustment. There we go. All right. Now, whoever said hands were miserable? I did, and I still do. I am going to now decide a little bit more what it is that he's holding in this hand. I was thinking somewhere between a rock and a leaf. And I know that this is just the part of the construction work that was the poor finger placement. But I'm actually thinking this could be part of what he's holding. I think this could be something meaty he pulled out of the ground. Maybe there is a rounder crystal that is that part, and there's a leafy bit coming out of it as a natural plant in this fantasy world that has... maybe it's like this part is a berry or some kind of fruit that's got leafy greens around it that sprouts from the ground out of this geode. I'm going to go with that. I think that that makes perfect sense. And we're just going to refine these leaves and add some, like, there we go. Maybe add some vague, like, shading there. I'm going to, oh, I think I actually now know what to do with the horns up there and the hair. I'm going to lower the opacity and increase the brush size. This is looking, yeah, I'm liking this a lot. So this is just for some definition on the fruit. Making essentially a charcoal brush out of this. Yeah, just some more definition there. I don't want to abuse that because then I got to do it everywhere. But you see the shape I'm going for. Now, my pretty, we can go up here. And we can erase all these squigglies because I know what I wanted to do with those. I don't need that construction work here still. There we go. All right. And now pencil comes back to save the day. That's the ink. This is the pencil that comes back to save the day. All right. So the hair is probably still going to take the thin version of the brush, but not the horns. The horns are going to take this version of the brush. Yeah. There's going to be some dustiness there. What I'm probably going to do is, yeah, I'm going to take this and... No, okay. I was going to do that and then blend it, but I think it actually might just work better if I... Yeah. Oh, this is much better. This is much better. So, just doing very broad, low opacity strokes here. And then going smaller for the crickety creases. And there we go. Okay, and now just doing some assorted squiggles on the hair. Not exactly defining where the squiggles will definitely be on the final piece, but this is, oh, that's looking good. We're getting somewhere. We're definitely getting somewhere. Okay, now bringing the opacity all the way back up. I'm gonna go to the pumpkin over here. Brush size down sufficiently. I love how there's a normal jack-o'-lantern and there's also... Pardon the mic squeak there. There's a normal jack-o'-lantern and also the Jack Skellington jack-o'-lantern. I think that's really cute. There we go. And I also don't want to move the canvas too much for the people watching. Because I want to turn this every which way to keep my hand comfortable, but I don't want you to, like, vomit if you got this up on a TV or something. Okay. There's the pumpkin stem. Round that out. And do the... Like, sort of like a metal band's logo upside down. I'm thinking for the mouth. You know, you got the... corner peaks up here, almost like horns, but for the mouth. And then you got the rest of the mouth down here. It's so cute. Okay. And then the stretchy parts for the stretch, the cracks for the stem. And there is line where the sweater connects to the neck. And I'm just gonna continue working this part like I did the other arm. Here we go. So Sarah, what are you up to right now? As we make sure that we get this definition in. then erase this part and just keep the part that's useful to us. I'm not sure that that straight line is going to work that well, but I'm going to keep it anyway. It feels right to do so. But the upper bulge up there for the arm, as there's a crease, works quite well, I think. And keep this part. And this is the cuff for the sweater. And where it meets the flesh. And now moving on to the fingers of this hand, I want them to kind of feel awkward. Like the pinky is kind of hovering out here because he doesn't know how to handle a beaker. And this finger is kind of like, so the pinky is sticking out to make sure that there's as little danger as possible of too much grip. But then the ring finger is kind of doing this hovering halfway thing, not knowing really what to do with itself. And then I'm going to have to change the lengths of those fingers, but then I'm going to say that the fingertips are down. The fingertips for the middle finger and index finger are actually down, like gripping the beaker. Those are the parts. Whatever natural hand position just comes to mind. If you have to look at your hand, that's fine as well. And I'm going to do some knuckles here. Over here as well. I forgot to do the knuckles. He's trying to delicately grip the beaker and not break it. Whatever's in there, it might just be glitter. But some very nice glitter that his niece made for him. And there is the opening of the beaker. And the index finger is not going to be that broad. But I'm trying to decide whether this or this line is the one that I'm adhering to. I'm thinking this one. And then... Oh, what? Let's see if you can see what went wrong here. Oh, God. Okay, so I don't want to give him 6 fingers, that's for sure. That doesn't match my vision for this character. But actually, no, okay, this hasn't gone as wrong as I think. Yeah, okay. So, let me help you through this. So, this finger can go, but the rest of them actually are in a pretty good spot. The index finger is going to be stretching out too far, but we have a great pose to work with here. I think this works very well. Yeah, okay, so the index finger is still going to be sticking out, just not nearly as far. Yeah, so that's going to be the portion of it facing the actual beaker. So we're going to erase this bit. Mapping out this finger. Now, a lot of people, what they sometimes do is for like the tip parts of the tip bones of the finger, whatever you call those, they put little circles and then connect the tops. And that is often helpful. It's just I already had a specific pose in mind. I got lucky with that. So now just roughly handle... roughly we're talking, yeah. Handle the top of the hand. Wow, I was still going by this. Okay. Ugh. Well, it's still working. So the fingers need to come up and meet it, not the back of the hand come down to meet them. Yeah, okay. There we go. We got something going here. This is wow, that is so much better than I expected. That's a good hand pose. Hands are really, really hard. So I'm very proud of that. Yeah. Okay. So that beaker looks like this, and this is perfect. I don't think really there's much of anything wrong with the proportions here. I'm kind of surprised. Usually I have to redo a bunch of stuff in this phase. Okay. And so some like sludgy whatever is coming out of there. I'm gonna say it's thick enough so that it's still like making its way to flowing like a watery substance. It's also sticking to this portion of the beaker enough. I'm gonna say this is glitter glue, like a special magical kind of glitter glue. That looks like hair right now, but bear with me. This is the under rim of the beaker, and I want to refine more of this line. It looks too scraggly. And I'm gonna say it's like lumping over up here. There's like some lumpy bits coming down. Maybe it's maybe it needed to be heated. Maybe it's a steaming. Maybe it's a steamy glitter. I don't know why, but it just feels right. That's good stuff. Okay, that's a steaming glitter. And I'm gonna put a little crease on that fruit. This is beautiful. Okay. I'm already like brainstorming in my mind backgrounds that could be used for this. I'm gonna say also name this man, this beast of a man here. I'm gonna leave that open to you viewers as you come in. His name will be Mr. Gargoyle until then. And I'm going to make sure that this princess sticker is defined, and I'm going to go into his sweater next. It's kind of gonna look like more of a princess doll. And big cozy slippers on. With some shoelaces to break up the shapes. And there's the mitts. Almost like a scarecrow. Cute little scarecrow. Scarecrow princess. And here's that like white bit that's around stickers. So this is gonna be. And oh, it's so cute. And the princess is gonna have lots of hair. Lots of pretty hair. Alright, that princess sticker. It's looking like it might bulge out a little bit, like one of those 3D stickers. I don't know if that'll be creepy or not. Maybe it should be. Alright, now I'm gonna do more of where the neckline actually meets the neck on this guy. I'm having a lot of fun with this. Now I know I said thinner lines for the inner lines, but that worked for the moment. I'm gonna make them thinner and the inking work. And I'm gonna have this sort of hot dog mustard squiggle represent the little thread ticks that I don't want to do right now. I'm gonna complete that portion of the arm and where this meets that. And gotta have a little thumb in here somewhere, I think. Not much. Yeah, then like the part where it meets the thumb. Yeah, okay, because we had to complete the thumb shape here. And before you know it, you just do piece after piece, and it just comes together. Just a little corner after a little spot. That's all you got. All right. Beautiful. I'm really, really liking this. That's the armpit of the sweater. And it can stretch out that far. I know it doesn't look symmetrical with this portion, but it's a sweater. Especially when it barely fits them. Of course it's going to stretch. And let's do the cauldron. A communally used cauldron, excuse me. So it can be a little crooked in its lining. I am going to always come up with excuses as to why cauldron lining is, or as to why any lining can be scratchy and not exactly smooth. If you can't tell, it's a lot easier to do lines that aren't super straight across the whole thing. I could bring out a ruler. Don't feel like it. Frankly, don't even need it until the inking, even if I wanted a straight line for the cauldron. I'm going to let you guys tell me if twisting and turning the canvas too much is inducing motion sickness. Because it is for more comfort in my actual maneuvering here. But ultimately, if it doesn't serve you guys, I do not want to do it. Because I'm pretty confident that just like zooming in and out and panning around wouldn't hurt anybody. But I can see twisting and turning the canvas constantly being a nuisance. Unless it's right now, because I don't want to have to do this line the way I was gonna. Okay, that's the last time for now. And now to do the pumpkin. Oh, I said it was the last time for now. I'm not gonna twist and turn the canvas. Nobody even complained. It just didn't feel right to put the audience through that. Whether you're watching now or later, because like I said, I'm probably putting this out to YouTube. There we go, some lines for the pumpkin, and the eye holes. God, this is adorable. I'm really, really loving this. Eye bags, and then... Perfect. Oh, that's just gorgeous. And then these ticks. See how just a more defined mouth crease like that really brings it together? Like, honestly, if you colored that in, I would just buy that on a shirt for, like, the Nightmare Before Christmas. Okay, and... Gotta make these lines meet each other, so if I got it wrong before, I could just thicken it enough so that it does make sense, and then chop off the end. Make the rest of the lines meet that portion, and then we're good. It's like nothing ever happened. I still want to turn it for that. There we go. Ah, beautiful. And bringing back the bubbles. And the liquid level here. Oh, a little crease for a wave. Going back over the line for some definition. And what else do I want to see? Oh, right, of course, the spider. I cannot forget about the spider. All right, so I'm actually going to lower the opacity even further in this little guy before going in. And now I know that I have some arachnophobic friends, so I'm going to try and make this look as not realistic as possible. might actually end up looking scarier. So I don't want to do that. But I'll adjust it afterwards if I have to. Sorry, folks. Yeah. Alright. And here's the body of the spider. And making it squash up a little bit. I'm thinking a spider that's similar to like Spider-Man's chest emblem in at least like 2000s comics. I don't know how it's evolved over the years necessarily, but I think it's still, you know, the short stubby arms for a spider. That's what I'm looking for. And moving on to the web now. Should have some strings in the middle just because webs are very stringy. They're made out of spider silk. There we go. And I don't know what kind of line there was there, but I like the idea of having almost a tear in it, because there's the extra weight from, maybe even one more tear, from the extra weight of the camera. I think that's a fascinating idea. And putting in the camera in basic ways. There we go. Click the camera. And the sulfur bulb. With whatever the heck is down here for it. There we go. Coming together to make the shape of the bowl. And the box part of the camera. The one that is stuck for the span of time that we've been using cameras. And the lens. I like it to come out just a little bit crooked, but like facing in the direction for narrative of the actual scene going on over there. So it's a small bit of a crooked lens because it's an old camera, and also it's just a cartoony style. The lens bulges out a little bit like that. Maybe a little lens shine, not a lens scratch. It'll look more like a shine later. There's the edge crease, and here is. Don't know what that is. That might actually be a light that replaces this, but who cares? I'm not hopped up on my camera history. I might have to ask a few friends about that one. If anybody in chat knows about camera history, I'd love to hear it. Maybe I'll even take out one of those lights while we're working on this spider web. And I want lots of crooked, scraggly lines here because as much as spiders craft their webs with great care and attention to detail, they also do it more with efficiency in mind than visual pizzazz. We find it pretty, sure, but spider webs are designed more for their structure and survival. And so we want to keep that kind of spirit in it, where it is not just made for you to look at. It's made primarily so that this guy has a home, or at least, you know, a temporary sleeping space. Because something tells me this guy's traveling far and wide to get this picture. And it's going out there, and it's going out there. I don't even know if these points would be inconsistent with one another or not. We could check on that later. Excuse me. Yeah, here we go. So And I know that this looks a little crooked, but I think that that makes sense with the physics of pulling on this side of it. And I'll make as many other excuses as necessary in order to not have to completely revamp the spider web. But yeah, okay, so we've reached a pretty good stop by the end of the night. It's been about an hour and a half. I need to lube up the joint on my chair so it doesn't squeak so much. But yeah, so we've made it to this portion. So I'm going to actually lower the opacity of the background here so you can see better what's going on. This is Mr. Gargoyle so far. So this is, of course, his beautiful face with that sticker on it. He's got a mohawk. He's got the horns. He's got his ears. He's got everything. He's got a little Halloween sweater on. He's throwing whatever potion stuff into his cauldron necessary, and that cauldron has a little kitschy, cute trinket of a Jack Skellington themed jack-o'-lantern, and he's got his hand going over it, a friendship bracelet that's stretching across him, just like the sweater. We're going to refine the details more of this next week. I want to see if I can do these weekly at about 6 Eastern Standard Time. Going for a couple hours, 6 until 8 if I can. And there's the spider web with the spider holding the camera. And we might even get to inking next week. Well, the phases that I'm thinking about of this, of any piece really, are the silhouettes and construction work, then the finer details like this, and then inking, and then bucket fills or color fills, and then lighting and shading, and then, and then we're basically done at that point. And we can add in whatever details along the way that we want, of course. But this, in terms of the number of phases of a drawing, I consider this halfway through the piece. And I'm a happy cartoonist because of it. So thank you for joining, anybody. This was my first go around this, and I appreciate anybody helping me experiment. And yeah, I had a lot of fun here, and I can't wait to do this again. If you'd like to go to any of the links in the description of either my Twitch channel or in the YouTube upload, there's a Discord server I put up for this. What I'm thinking of doing in the future is actually going into the voice channel for that Discord server, maybe making a stage channel in there, and giving a few of my friends permissions to come in and tune in live and chat. You hearing their voices and everything, them telling me what to do, just like chat can when it comes to recommending stuff to draw, recommending stuff to put on the canvas. We'll talk about our day. I'll talk about your day as well as you're in the chat. But yeah, because I've got some really funny friends, some really creative friends, and I think we can make some great challenges out of this. And I want to see how far this goes. But until then, thank you for coming around to my little workshop. And I hope you have a great Tuesday night or any other time that you're watching. And I hope you have a lovely time.